Welcome to Irons United for another quick transfer window special. This particular transfer window video is going to focus on Fabian Delph, who we've recently been linked with. It seems that every player that Pellegrini's ever signed in the past or has ever used in any of his squads seem to be linked with us. So, you know, I guess it's par for the course. It's an obvious thing to happen. So here's another. Delph, 29 years of age, who we know can play at central midfield or as a left back. Is there any mileage in this? Well, at 29 years old, I'd say he's a little bit older than what we should be going for. We need to get the squad average age down, but his versatility could come in handy. Plus the fact that we're going to probably need a player or two who's British born or British based because or English, sorry, in order to get our quota of English players in the squad. So it's possible. I don't know. It wouldn't necessarily be an inspired signing. If it's true that Creswell's going, then I guess you can see why someone like Fabian Delph might come in. He's played about 20 games for Man City this season. He's been okay. His stats aren't fantastic. He's not a playmaker in terms of making goals or scoring goals, but he's made the England squad. But I reckon if Creswell is going to go, then we should be looking for someone who is more established as a left back, rather than a sort of a versatile player who can play central midfield or can play left back. And he's worth about 10 million. So if we're going to spend that sort of money on him, then I think we should continue pursuing Kutris from Olympiacos, who's younger, 24 years of age, who's had 4 assists last season and is a proper left back. And one could argue, well, Fabian Delph is established in the Premier League, whereas Kutris isn't. But Kutris is a player that kind of, you look at his stats, you look at a couple of his videos that are knocking around on YouTube. He's a decent prospect and someone that could probably claim that left back spot for quite a few years to come. So, is Creswell leaving? For a Liverpool fan, going to Everton for around £8 million at the age of 29. I guess he wouldn't want to, but I can see some mileage in that. And if he does, will Delph come in to replace him? I'm going to give this around about a 6.5 out of 10 probability. I don't actually think it will happen. I think Pellegrini is looking for other players in central midfield as well as left back. So I think it's an interesting one, but I don't think it's going to happen. Just a quick catch up on Andre Gomes. Well, the rumours have been there before. Irons United mentioned Gomes in the transfer videos we were doing last summer before he got his loan move to Everton. He's done really well at Everton. He didn't come into the team till around about October after his injury, but he's been quite pivotal in the way he's made them play. And that was pretty obvious when they played against us at home in March, and he kind of dominated the midfield. He's a really technically gifted player. But a few things about Gomes. In 2014-15 season, Gomes was loaned out to Valencia from Benfica. This was after he was pivotal in winning the domestic treble for Benfica in the previous season. The loan move, was arranged by Peter Lim, who owned Gomes's economic rights. And after his loan spell, he was signed to Valencia from Benfica. To Benfica on a permanent basis after Lim and the club agreed. Valencia agreed his federative rights Confused? Well, sounds a little bit like the whole shenanigans that went on a few years back with the Tevez and Mascherano signings, when someone else owned the rights from both players, and it was all rather dodgy. So let's hope, if we are interested in him, that we're buying him directly from Barcelona. And talking of which, Barcelona, no sooner did he go to Valencia on a permanent, Barcelona signed him for 30 million euros with an additional 20 million euros add-ons. It's a lot of money, isn't it? You know, so he was worth around about 50 million pounds. And he didn't do that well in Barcelona. He didn't break through there, which is why he ended up going on loan to Everton. He's technically gifted. He'd be a perfect partner for Declan Rice in the middle of the pitch. And you could see him being that good link-up play between our defence, Declan Rice, and our attacking midfielders and our attacking lineup. I'd be quite excited to see him playing alongside Anderson, Yarmolenko, Declan Rice, and whichever forward we get in the future. But it could mean the end of, or it could mean that we will see much less of Mark Noble. But then a lot of fans will admit that his legs are going. He still has something to offer, but probably can offer something from the bench. You know, what better player to come on for, say, the last 20, 30 minutes of a game to drive the team forward than Mr. West Ham himself. So I'm going to give this. We've apparently had an 18 million euro bid rejected by Barcelona. Apparently they value him at around about 25 million. Even if we went for 25 million, that's around about 22 million pounds, which is still not bad for a player of his technical ability. So I'm going to go for around about an 8 out of 10 chance of him coming to us. He's somewhat of a Wiltshire type player, isn't he? You know, he's got the technical ability. He's a good link-up player, and with him, you know, all right, he came from a bad injury, but with Gomes, you kind of guaranteed a player that's going to play. Whereas with Wiltshire, unfortunately, you just don't know what you're going to get. You know, we'd all love Wiltshire to have a season without injury, but that's not guaranteed. So I can see the Gomes deal probably happening, which means that Sanchez and Obiang will leave the club, and we kind of know that Obiang wants to leave anyway. In other news, apparently we're interested in signing the 29-year-old Cape Verde international Giannini. He currently plays for Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. Shades of signing Lanzini a few years back when he was playing for a team that was kind of in the back streets of world football. Do we know much about him? He's a centre forward who scored over 20 goals for his current club and had 4 assists. He arrived in Portugal at the age of 18, and after a successful season for a regional league club, Grupo Desportivo Valença, he got a move to Leiria of the Premier League. Didn't have much of luck there. Then moved to Benfica, which was then quite unsuccessful. His contract was mutually terminated, and he went to play for Nacional for 1 season. Again, not very successful season. He then moved to Santos Laguna in Mexico, where he had a reasonable success, scoring around 14 goals. And in July 2018, he moved to Al Ahly, his current club. Is he worth a punt? Given that he's 28 years of age, we don't know how much he'd be sold for. I would say no. We're already linked with quite a number of players who have proven in the Premier League, like Rondon, etc., who's not that much older than this player. So I'm going to give this a very low probability of 3 out of 10. So that's it, short and sweet. Tell us what you think. Subscribe to the channel. I know we're knocking out these videos almost on a daily basis, but that shows how much gossip and rumour there is in the transfer window, and we've only barely just started. So we've got several months left on this, guys. Tell us if you think they're worth it. Are these videos good info for you? Do you want more? Do you want less? Again, as I said in previous video, are there players that we haven't mentioned that you're aware of? So, come on, you irons.